Hello. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. I'm so glad to welcome you to another episode of Games Analysis and Producer Perspectives with me, your host, Ray Hazlett. Today, we are going to talk about extraction shooters. Like we haven't talked about that in a long time. So, haven't had an episode in quite some time of this particular series. And that's because I spent a week out of country. I went to Japan for a week. This was in celebration of both my birthday and in celebration of me getting a master's degree in business. And we actually ended up celebrating like several things all at once. It also like happened to align pretty close to me and my wife's anniversary, our wedding anniversary. It was a good time. It was my first time ever in Japan, in Tokyo, and we also took the Shinkansen to Kyoto, and we spent the day there. Obviously, as someone that talks about video games a lot, and if you watch any other episodes of Unscripted Gaming, someone that has a large affinity for particularly giant robot anime, you would think like, oh, Japan must have been a dream come true for you when you went. And the quick answer to that was, yeah, it was. Not even going to bear the lead. It was everything I thought it would be and better. Obviously, a lot of people like to ask this, so I'll just get out of the way. Yes, the food was incredible, and it was incredibly cheap, relatively speaking. Getting around everywhere by taking some of their just incredible public transit via light rails, subways, and also, like I mentioned before, the Shinkansen. Anywhere I need to go in that country for pennies on the dollar was great. The culture was great. Interacting with everyone that we encountered was very polite, very kind. Obviously, I speak very little Japanese, even though I took it on Duolingo for like 3.5, almost 4 years. I can attest that Duolingo is not a great way to try to learn a language. It's just not. I remember some of the fundamentals, but you have to speak it. And the longer I was actually there just interacting with people, the more comfortable I got into speaking it. But I never was ever going to be fluent off of just being there for 1 week. But I loved interacting with people that knew I obviously couldn't speak Japanese. And some people could speak English as a second language, or their English was about as good as my Japanese, and we had a cultural exchange of how we got by when I was like ordering something or buying something, whatever. It was fun. It was cool. It's kind of an expensive trip for me and my wife. The most expensive part of the trip was the plane tickets, but everything else, right after the plane tickets, everything else was really, really cheap, like shockingly cheap. Relatively speaking. Like if you want to plan a trip from like say the United States to Germany, I feel like that's going to be way more expensive than the United States to Japan. I think the worst part of that was just like the flight there, which there's nothing you could do about that. I live in the Midwest. It's a 12-hour flight, not including layovers. It's just a long plane ride. 12 hours from where I landed, from where I was, from Chicago to Tokyo. That's a 12-hour flight. Not getting around that. So, anyways, that aside, did I learn anything video game related? The Akihabara district has a ton, so many secondhand video game shops. It was wonderful to see. I loved seeing so many different physical copies of like Dreamcast games I've never heard of, Sega Saturn games I've never heard of. I saw copies of like Super Nintendo and PlayStation games that never made it stateside. It was wonderful. Great to see. We could talk about physical media as a different topic later. Today we want to talk about the potential death of a genre, and that's when we're circling back to extraction shooters. What do I mean by death of a genre? What am I saying? Extraction shooters are dead as a concept? To be very clear, extraction shooters, I predict, and this is just a prediction, I don't have a crystal ball or I'm not Nostradamus, but I predict extraction shooters are pretty much headed the same direction that battle royale shooters have headed, in that there was a brief period of time where you couldn't throw a rock in the game industry without someone trying to make a battle royale. And all of them except for like a small handful have fallen by the wayside. I think that's specifically what's going to happen with player versus player extraction shooters. I think that you're going to have your success stories, but you're going to have a lot more PvP extraction shooters have hit a brick wall than they've been successes. Let's talk about some successes. There are extreme successes out there. In the case of Battle Royale, obviously there's PUBG. PUBG has a ton of people still playing it. I play PUBG. I think I have 175 hours on PUBG. When I looked it up yesterday, today right now, this recording is August 13th, 2026. But when I looked it up yesterday, there were 788,000 players actively playing PlayerUnknown's Battleground that day. That over 750,000 people at that moment, at that snapshot, playing PUBG, and that's just the Steam chart version, not including mobile, not including console versions of the game, just Steam charts. So, by the way, all the player data I'm going to be saying for player numbers, they're directly coming from Steam database.com. Just to let you know, I'm not getting it from any other sources, just Steam database, because it just takes a very quick snapshot. It's not hyper accurate, but it'll be accurate enough for doing a podcast about it. Just to throw that out there. That's very healthy. Fortnite is still extremely healthy. Fortnite is still getting about something like 2 million, last time I checked, active users logging in and playing the game a day. That's still extremely healthy numbers. So those are Battle Royale games, and you don't see many other publishers attempting Battle Royale games. They're like, okay, these are the two. Most people recognize these. There could be a couple other outliers, but these are the main ones. Now, for extraction shooters, you still have wild successes. They're nowhere near as big as PUBG or Fortnite, but there are successes. Escape from Tarkov, I checked yesterday, it had 40,000 players playing actively at that moment when I checked. That's healthy. That's healthy for a relatively small name. Well, not small name, small developer, relatively small publisher, pushed out a game over the course of several years. Is still actively going with 40,000 players. That is a healthy live service number. That's numbers you'd like to see. And a newer game, Delta Force, just called Delta Force, that had a very healthy 121,000 players actively playing daily on Delta Force, the extraction shooter. So those are good numbers. Those are very good numbers. Delta Force, of course, has the advantage of it is a free-to-play video game, so that's probably why its numbers are a lot higher. Same thing with Fortnite. PUBG is not a free-to-play game. I remember spending a couple of bucks on it, but still, these are game. Wait, is PUBG free-to-play now? You know what? Not even gonna check. I'm going to right now say it's probably free-to-play. I don't even remember off the top of my head. Now I want to look that up, but not looking it up right now. Anyways, obviously, if you have a free-to-play game, you're going to attract a lot more players. So the most popular player-friendly extraction shooter when it comes to PvP extraction shooters is going to be Arc Raiders. Most people have heard of Arc Raiders. A lot of people have played Arc Raiders. Arc Raiders is not free to play, though. That game is $40. And that game, at its launch, around its launch time, had a maximum player count, daily player count, CCU, of 480,000 people playing online. And that's not including console players. That was 9 months ago. That is an incredible number. That is almost 500,000 people just playing one game at $40 at a $40 price point. That's great. Now that's just the PC players. That's great. That's awesome. Good for them. You check in on the numbers today though, and that number has gone down a couple orders of magnitude. It is now 31,000 as of yesterday that we're playing at that point. That was its high peak. That is a lot less. That's not even a year later. They bled off 99% of their player base, basically. Is that, well, not 99%. Close to it. They've burned off 90% of their player base. So is that healthy? No. It's still got a large amount of people playing. 31,000 people playing at any given time is still a healthy amount of people playing your live service game. That's not bad, but that's a healthy amount you should see after a couple years, not after 3/4 of a year. It seems like a lot of people have played a lot of Arc Raiders, maybe played too much of it, depending on who you ask, and they've decided to just move on, which is interesting because Arc Raiders is a very, very, as I've observed online, a very friendly type of extraction shooter. Like, there are whole servers where people just don't attack each other. They just kind of try to do their missions and skills, and then the entire server jumps on you if you try to attack people. It's kind of fascinating to watch. And obviously the quote-unquote new kid on the block, Marathon, that came out just this past March, 5 months ago, and it went from a very high, well, let's be honest, it's not very high. It went from a high launch, a high CCU of about 88,000 people playing, which is pretty good. It's probably not as much as the studio Bungie wanted for as much money and time as they put into it, but that's a decent number. And you would hope, like, okay, they're starting off small, they're going to pick up some more players after like a month or two. And no, it's still been going down. I know I've said this a couple times. It's going down. Yesterday when I checked in on it, it had 4,000 people playing it. That's it. It bled off 90% of its entire player base, more than 90%. And the question is, well, what can they do to get those players back? Well, they've been throwing everything at the wall. There's even like a semi-active PvE mode where you just play by yourself or you play with a group of people. It doesn't seem to be bringing a lot of people back. So, and I played Marathon. I played a couple hours of it whenever they had a free weekend, and I played it on the open beta or the pre-launch beta 2 weeks before it came out, something like that. I haven't bought the game. I don't think I'm going to buy the game. Unfortunately, I don't think I see a reason to buy the game at this point. It's also just not for me. It's just not my cup of tea as a game to play. Not all extraction shooters are the same, though. Helldivers 2 is a PvE, player versus enemy extraction shooter. And that has recently released a patch update and enjoyed a mass resurgence in players. So previously, just a couple days ago, it had a player count, a CCU of about 37,000 players, which is decent. That's pretty decent for a game that's been out for a little over 2 years. That's pretty decent. But it just had a large spike just a day or two ago to 146,000 players. That's more than Delta Force, which was our current one that we were looking at. And I was like, oh, that's really healthy. And this game costs $40. You can probably get it on sale from time to time, but it's still a $40 game. It's because they released a new update called Devoid of Liberty. Every time the game Helldivers 2 releases a new update, it brings players back in. Why do you think that is? Why do you think Helldivers 2 is the most healthy extraction shooter on the market? And I hope you can see what I'm getting at. The answer seems to be that it is a PvE extraction shooter. You play it with some buddies or you play it with a group of randos, and you're not trying to all kill each other or screw each other over. You can kill each other. Friendly fire is constantly turned on in the game. And to quote the devs, they're not going to turn off friendly fire because it's funnier that way. And I agree, it is funnier that way. They're absolutely correct. But you don't have to get super sweaty in that game. You play the game with friends or with randos. You have fun. You play a match or two, which will take you, depending on how difficult the match is, 15 to 20 minutes. And then you can stop right there. That'll be your match for the evening. If you get killed, you just respawn. You can even try to land on the enemies as you're respawning in your drop pod. It's great. It's fun. It is not a extremely punishing game, but that's what most extraction shooters are. They are by design extremely punishing video games where if you load into a match and you get shot within the first 5 minutes, that's it. Restart a brand new match. Everything, by the way, you carried with you into that match is gone. Some extraction shooters have what's called a safe pocket, which is, okay, I will lose everything except whatever's in this pocket, but that's not every single extraction shooter. It's just not. Now, there are many people that hang on to a specific extraction shooter that they really like. They hang on to them for a while, but eventually, and by eventually I mean within like 2 months, they bounce, they leave. Most extraction shooters have just extreme boom-bust cycles where they get a lot of popularity at first within the first like couple months, and then immediate die-off. There is no sticking power. There is no retention there. And it is, I would say it's fascinating to see, but at a certain point it becomes predictable. And these games take a lot of time and money to make. You can't just plop out an extraction shooter like you can a 2D platformer. Extraction shooters, especially, pretty much all of them, they require server infrastructure, they require maintenance, they require patching, they require weapon balancing, especially if it's a PvP one. They require a gigantic support team. Some extraction shooters have a support team of up to 100 plus people just for supporting that game with a variety of different tasks. And the reality is, you as a player, customer, client, consumer, what have you, you have to be really comfortable with all of the hard edges of an extraction shooter. Are you very comfortable with logging into a match with the potentiality of losing everything you came to that match with? Are you comfortable where if you're just a little bit off, you're not the predator, you're the prey? Are you comfortable with that? And believe it or not, the stark reality is not a lot of people are comfortable with that. Not a lot of people like to be hunted for food, just to go ahead and get vamped off of for experience points or for weapons or kit or gear or whatnot. No one likes sitting at, say, an exfil station, in the case of, say, Marathon or any other PvP extraction shooter. No one likes sitting at exfil and then getting dropped from 200 meters away by someone with a really powerful sniper rifle. No one actually really likes that. You like to be the person with the sniper rifle dropping the people waiting at exfil. Yeah, that's good fun. But one of you has to get deaded, and the one that's getting deaded probably didn't have a great time. Do you want them to just like, what is the tactic for that player that want them to just say, oh, you got me, and then you just log back out? Sure, the first couple times you could probably do that, but that does get old after a while. So I guess the tactic that people that love these extraction shooters is, well, why don't you just get good? And the answer is, do you have the time to get really good at these games? I've said this many other different episodes, but I'll say it again. The average age of the core video gaming audience is closer to 35 than it is 18. And speaking as someone that is now in their 40s, 35-year-olds, they have careers, lives, kids, families, what have you. They don't always have the time to try to get really, really good at one specific video game just so they can get really good at ruining the lives of other people that are playing that game. Like, there's a different, it's kind of like a niche, like how fighting games are a niche. Except in fighting games, you never have to get really good at a fighting game to enjoy it. You can be pretty bad at it. Most fighting games have an arcade mode or a practice mode. No extraction shooter I've ever played has a practice mode. You just go in and you get got. There's some joy to be found in what's called labbing in a fighting game, where you just sit in a practice mode and you try to perfect your skills, or you try to perfect your button inputs or combos or your tag-ins if it's that style of game, or you watch videos online of how people are doing specific combos or how you can go ahead and do proper spacing. There's a lot of technique and tactics to that. There's no technique or tactics you're learning while you're loading into a match and then a team of 3 or 4 just appear behind you and just kill you. There's no technique you learn to that, except maybe don't be alone or something like that. But it can just happen. It can absolutely just happen. And as I said before, it might be fun the first couple of times. It might be first to several dozen times it happens, but it does get old. It does get tiring. Do you want to go ahead and get home from a long day of work or from school or from anything, and you're like, you know what, I have a couple of hours, I want to play a video game. You want to de-stress. And then you pick a genre whose entire purpose is to stress you out. Do people have fun with that? Some people do. Some people get a wild amount of energy just being stressed out. That's their thing. They like it. But the reality is, if you're judging strictly by player numbers, not everyone sticks to that for very long. They want to move on to something else. The game genre that's making a giant boom lately is the cozy indie game scene. And that's because a lot of people want to just chill and relax with their games. And it's true. It's absolutely true. Don't get me wrong. There is a place for very harsh video games. That there will always be a home for that. But if you're running a live service video game where the requirement is everyone has to be really cool with this game being harsh or the game dies, putting a lot of eggs in one basket. I'll give you another example. The harshness of, say, a Dark Souls game, we'll say Dark Souls 3 or Elden Ring. The only reason that game stays harsh is because, and this is real talk talking, as someone that beat Elden Ring, you didn't level up enough, or you didn't build your kit good enough. Maybe you should respec, maybe you should use different weapons, maybe you should grind a little by tackling other bosses and raising your levels. You can do all of that. You can't do all of that in an extraction shooter. You can't just, well, I'll just grind a little bit to get stronger. No, there is no grinding to get stronger. You have to actually get very good at the game, get better weapons, and then try again. Oops, did you get killed with those better weapons? I guess they're gone. Go try and get better weapons. That's the rabbit hole of an extraction shooter. The only way you get better is you get dedicated and a little bit lucky to being in the right place at the right time to get better gear so that you can survive a little bit longer. I've actually always, and if you can't tell here, it's very apparent, I hope, I've actually always had a small chip on my shoulder for extraction shooters because it always seems like a type of genre that's meant to just find people at their worst, in a way. Unless you're playing with teams, and sometimes even when you're playing with teams, there's no real cooperation. There's no real, we're trying to all get better. It's more, hey, I'm going to screw you over, and I'm going to take your gear. I'm going out of my way to try to ruin your evening, and the satisfaction I will get from ruining your evening will make my evening that much better. Yeah, I don't know. That sounds very dark in like a lot of ways. Like, don't get me wrong, as someone that used to play fighting games a lot, I got great joy out of saying, all right, I'm going to beat you in this match. It's going to bring me great joy to hopefully, if you're playing best 3 out of 5, it's going to give me great joy to 3-stock you and get you out of this. Go ahead and hit the rematch button or get out of my face, that type of thing. There's fun to be had in that, but then you get into another match and someone just wallops on you. But here's the thing. Did you lose anything? You lost some of the time you had in those matches. You lost, what, 3 minutes? 4 minutes? 5? Maybe 5 at the very most? Actually, at the very most, it's probably closer to like 8 because they're 90-second matches. But still, you lost maybe, we'll say, 8 minutes. And you went round for round for round. You had a good match with someone. What did you lose? Well, you probably gained something. You probably gained, okay, here's what they did. Here's how that fighter fights. Here's how this player plays. I didn't know that, or now I know that. Now I can be a little bit stronger. Now I'll go to the practice mode. I'll lab against them, or maybe I'll learn that character. You're picking up something. I don't pick up something when someone that has a much better gun than me, when they just drop me from several dozen meters away and my weapon can't reach that far. I'm not learning anything besides that I didn't have the right weapon for the right situation, or I wasn't sneaky enough. That's what I learned. I learned how to uninstall the game. And that's also a deep rabbit hole that you have to get into with the concept of live service video games. Live service video games in general, by design, are temporary. They're temporary excursions into the world of video gamings. Not all, but most live service games have a shelf life. Credit to Stop Killing Games, that entire campaign that's saying you should stop forcing live service games to not exist, or you should give players an off-ramp for those games to continue to exist. But ultimately, until that campaign is 100% successful, ultimately, those games are going to die out. There are exceptions to this rule. There are, but like, for example, to go ahead and give credit to Bungie, you can still play Destiny 1. They stopped support of that game a long time ago, like official support. But if you have a copy of it, you can log into it, you can log into the servers, and you can still play 2014's Destiny 1. And I think that's extremely laudable. All of your time and investment into Destiny 1 is not lost. Not yet. But for most live service games, all your time and investment into that game, that has a shelf life. It's part of the reason why I personally haven't played Battlefield 6, even though I played it quite a bit between the months of when it came out to about February, maybe. I pretty much got all I needed out of it because I realized, hey, this has a shelf life. Like, no matter how good I get with these characters or these classes, this is just burning a little bit of time. And when I'm done with it, I'm done with it. And I'll keep the disc. I have the disc of it, but who knows what this disc will do. Well, to be fair, it has a single player on it. I haven't played it. I heard it's horrible. I don't want to waste time with it. So, since the latest and most expensive, getting back on topic, the latest and most expensive extraction shooter marathon seems to be bleeding players at an extreme rate, where it's lost over 90% of its player base in 5 months. And also, Marathon is one of the prettiest looking extraction shooters on the market, like bar none. It's got the most unique art style. It's got the most interesting lore. Granted, it's based off the original Marathon game. It's also got the most interesting weapons, atmosphere. It just is an absolutely fascinating looking video game. It is. But playing the game itself is a completely different experience. I don't think a lot of people, as proved by the numbers, actually want to do that. So what is the future of extraction shooters? And if you want my personal opinion, I think extraction shooters should go the same direction as the game we've been talking about for a little bit, the game genre, and they should go the direction of battle royale. In that battle royale shooters, they still exist, but not really. You can still play Fortnite, you can still play PUBG, but at the end of the day, those are the only two real video games that are battle royales that you can play. There's RedSec on Battlefield 6, but who's playing that? Let's be honest here. Every single new extraction shooter that comes out, it gets its boom of players, and then it's bust a couple months later of most of those players just moving on and disappearing and deciding, you know what, I don't want to play this that much. So maybe there should be just a couple extraction shooters on the market, because we don't have enough space in the video game market for 18 more extraction shooters. There's not that many extraction shooters out there, but there is no space for a ton more. There's never been a lot of space for a lot of live service video games. You're asking a lot of the entire player population to go ahead and dedicate an obscene amount of time to a specific video game. You are. The market has kind of spoken. The players have kind of spoken more realistically. The players don't want a new type of game that stresses them out. There's a little bit of sauce with Fortnite and PUBG that kind of works. There's a sauce with Delta Force and Escape from Tarkov, even though those are, one of them is a paid game, but they're extremely niche, and it's an extremely niche genre. It's never going to be one of those genres that makes like billions upon billions upon billions hands over fist. I don't think it's going to be like for multiple different studios. There's only so much space for that specific type of game. It's the concept of live service video games in general. There's only so much space for however many live service video games. What is that number? I don't know. But you can't, what we in the game industry, what we can't keep doing is this tactic of spending hundreds of millions of dollars on this one specific genre of game that requires a lot of people to play it, and then you hope you break even and make your money back. Because when you, it's sad to say, but more than likely when you don't and you have to shut off that server, you'll never get that money back. You can't get it back via microtransactions. You can't get it back via DLC packs. It's just gone. It's wasted effort. And now it becomes lost media. And in a lot of ways, that's worse in a lot of ways. Now it's no longer wasted effort. It's wasted art. It's wasted energy. Like, say what you will about the game. This is a battle royale game. It's a hero shooter. Say what you will about the game Concord. But I actually do think it's really sad that Concord is just completely lost media now. It is sad. I'm not saying that there isn't a place for these types of games, but maybe there's just too many. You've seen it all before. It's like the platformer craze back in the 90s, during the Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, NES days. There's only so many different platformer games that you can make, especially like animal-based hero platformers. Thank you for ruining a couple years, Sonic. But there's only so many of those types of games that you can make before the audience says, hey, we've seen it all. That'll be quite enough. Thank you. And I think we're getting that way with extraction shooters. We've seen it all. That'll be quite enough. Thank you. And then everyone is moving on to something different. In happier news, the game Iron Nest Heavy Turret Simulator, which is an indie-made video game that costs $15, sold over 400,000 copies in its first week. And that was a game made by 2 to 3 different people. So I always hem and haw about this, but maybe people will find a lot more success coming up with interesting ideas, releasing it as a single player game, and throwing it out there with a little bit of proper marketing. Just a little bit, just a tiny bit. All right, that's what I'm going to talk about today. I hope you all have yourselves a fine day. If you enjoyed this, if you're on YouTube, please hit the like and subscribe button. If you want to, ring the bell for more notifications. If you want to go ahead and hear about more different episodes, I have plenty of episodes of games analysis and producer perspectives, and also plenty of different content around here in the unscripted gaming universe, from our standard podcast episode to Krieg Got Robbed to Postscripted, where we are talking about The Big O, the giant robot anime. If you also want to, if you're interested in science fiction books, I have 2 of them. Just go to Amazon, look up Ray Hazlett. Conscripted in Armor, The Toll of Those Forced to Fight, and also the second book, Gods of the Forest. Really proud of the second book, especially. Working on the third one, working on it with my co-author. It'll be out one of these days. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you have yourself a great day. Do you like drinking coffee? Of course you do. You're listening to this podcast. That's pretty much most people listening to this love drinking coffee. What you want to drink, though, is locally sourced and sustainable coffee. How about some coffee where every time you make a purchase of it, 5% of all of its sales go back to charities to go ahead preserve the great outdoors? How about a coffee that only works with local farmers? Coffee that gives you a great taste. So thanks to today's sponsor, that is going to be Afuera Coffee. You can go to afueracoffee.com and you can order some specially sourced, single sourced actually, sourced from the Rainforest Alliance Farms in Central and South America, coffee beans, ground or whole beans, and get that delivered straight to your house. You want to use my promo code RHAZE, that's RHAZE, at afueracoffee.com. Order yourself some coffee and they're going to give you 15% off just for using that promo code. Go ahead, get yourself some coffee, and enjoy it knowing that you're giving a little bit back to the environment. So you know what I like? I like energy drinks. I take them every time right before I work out. And what I don't like about energy drinks is when you do take them, you do have a caffeine crash right after them. And so I'm always shopping around for different energy drinks that will give me a better caffeine high, as it were, maybe a more natural high. So we got today's sponsor, Aspire Drinks. If you want to go to aspiredrinks.com, what they give you is healthy energy that delivers balanced, crash-free 80 milligrams of natural green tea caffeine. They are sugar-free, and they come in a variety of delicious flavors. They will keep you refreshed and focused all day long. Now, as a new sponsor of this show, they are giving an exclusive discount when you are at the checkout. Enter the promo code RHAZE, and it's like Ray Hayes. Yeah, RHAZE at aspire.com when you order some energy drinks. You could just buy a pack for yourself or just make a subscription if you've already had them before. Once again, these are gluten-free, keto-friendly, soy-free, vegan, and kosher natural energy drinks. The discount is going to give you, the listener, a 20% discount. That's a heck of a deal. Go ahead and put that into, once again, aspiredrinks.com. That's RHAZE. You're already going to probably go buy some energy drinks. Why not buy a bulk? Buy some in bulk. Tell them Ray Hazlip sent you. All right?